By the end of World War II, technological advances in 7 years of business, Fort Sumter was complete. On behalf of the National Park Service, welcome to Fort Sumter. A National Park Service ranger will meet you on the dock and assist you during your visit. Several outdoors. As we prepare to dock, please keep your door control at firm safety precautions must be observed. Please keep all children under adult supervision. Adults are required to
All right. So how are we doing today? Hanging in there? I'm not a winter person either. My blood's too thin. That's will be the tail end coming in. Let's go ahead and crank it up. Wait. Okay, I don't wait for people standing on the dock looking at the water. Okay, folks, well, thanks for coming out today. Let's spend the first few minutes of this talk talking about the building of Fort Sumter. Okay, you got to know why it's here and how long it took to build this place. Fort Sumter was one of 42 new forts that the Army Corps of Engineers planned to start to build right after the War of 1812. Why such a big fort building program? Well, folks, our coastline was easily attacked by the British Navy during the War of 1812. We're vulnerable to foreign invasion. So we're going to upgrade our coastal defenses and plan and build a bunch of new forts. It's going to be bigger and better than anything ever built before. And the project, the first fort, the foundation fort's laid in 1818 near New Orleans, okay? Now this was a staggered system, so the cities and areas needed the protection the most got the first set of forts. And then second string, and there was even a third string that some of them didn't even start till the 1850s, okay? So this is a very long program, but Charleston, being a busy seaport and principal city on the East Coast, found itself in the second string, so we're going to concentrate on the harbor entrance, and this is part of this new plan. Concentrate on harbor and river entrances. Previous to that, other forts, you had a lot of inner harbor forts, okay? And y'all passed by the ruins of one of them on a little island just off the downtown. There's a little ruins of a little circular fort there called Castle Pinckney, way back up there. But hey, why let them in the front door to begin with? So we're going to stop our enemy out here before they get into the harbor over there. Now there was a fort on the other side, or there still is. There's been a fort on the other side since 1776. It's called Fort Moultrie. And the brick fort that was built in 1809 is still there, right over there on Sullivan's Island. Now it's the third fort to stand on that site. The first two forts were taken out by hurricanes. So the brick one that's over there is weathered a lot of storms and Union artillery, if I may add. So she's still there, pretty neat place to visit. But there was never a fort on this side of the harbor entrance. The main reason, lack of dry land. All we've got is shallow water, marshes. The next dry land is James Island, a mile that way. And over here, the barrier island of Morris Island is always shifting around, and it's set back a little bit too far that way. So not really a suitable place to build a fort. However, there was a very good place to build a fort right here. The trouble is, it's 10 feet underwater. It's a submerged sandbar. But really good location because it's a mile opposite Fort Moultrie. So I mean, is not deterred by that fact that it's 10 feet underwater. This is where we're going to build the fort. Construction starts in 1829, but you're not going to see any brickwork done for another 10 years because you're building the island that the fort stands on. 70,000 tons of rock quarried in New England. Do we have any people from Vermont, New Hampshire, or Maine here? Oh well, anyway. That's where the rock came from, okay? Loaded up in cargo ships and sailed right down here. Dump it, dump it, dump it, dump it. 10 years later, you got a 3-acre rock island. So let's start going up with the walls. About 1840. And over the next 20 years, she would progress upward to her planned height of 50 feet all the way around. Almost 7 million bricks went into the building of Fort Sumter. Folks, this was originally a 3-gun level fort. I'm in one of the gun rooms right here, okay? And these arch gun rooms are called casemates. They went around 4 sides of the fort. Remember, the back wall was not heavily armed. That just faced the shallow water. Up on the second level, same thing. Arch gun rooms going all the way around 4 sides. Top of the fort, flat, guns up there in the open air, going all the way around. Fully fitted out, you would have been looking at 135 cannons. Fully manned during wartime, 650 men. Y'all back there standing on a barracks floor. The building's gone, but there were 3 3-story barracks buildings wrapping around the old parade ground. Enlisted men lived here. On the other side of the parade ground, officers lived on the back wall. You see a little bit of the ruins of their quarters back there. So plenty of living space if the place was ever fully manned. Okay, folks, but this fort, out of all the others, we can relate it to the present day Boston's Big Dig project, okay? Do you know where I'm coming from? Okay, lots of problems. Way too much time to build it. Make a long story short, construction stopped after 31 years of work and it was never finished. This fort was never finished or put into commission as an active post. Okay, so it only got 60 of its planned, 135 guns, and work pretty much stopped in the middle of 1860. So if you would visit Fort Sumter in the fall of 1860, you'd think you're visiting an abandoned construction site. There's building materials strewn all over the place and barely a soul out here. Okay? So folks, I'm going to jump forward a little bit and let's talk about the destruction of Fort Sumter. We'll come back to the beginning of the Civil War when we wrap it up. This fort is basically an 1820s design around the guns of the 1820s, just like this fellow right over here. That cannon will fire a 42-pound round ball about 1.5 miles. Remember, your artillery is all smooth bore in those days, meaning that the inside of the barrel is smooth. It fires a round cannonball. A round cannonball coming in from the ship, hitting a 6-foot thick brick wall, you're not going to have a whole lot of damage. It's going to put a big dent in the brick and probably bounce off. Might even get lodged in the brick a little bit, but it certainly had no penetrating power. Okay? So the design matches the artillery that is in use. Now what happens if the artillery advances and the design is locked in the 1820s? Well, you see the 3/4 of the fort's gone, right? That's what happened during the Civil War. And again, I'm going to the middle of the Civil War. Let me tell you how this happened. In late 1861, the Union Army and Navy seized the Beaufort Hilton Head area south of us. So throughout most of the war, you have a Union presence on the coast of South Carolina. It's a big burr under the saddle, believe me, to have these Yankees right down the coastline in between Charleston and Savannah. So naturally, that was a base of operations to launch attacks on these cities. Now, a big overland attack on Charleston in 1862 failed. It was a massacre. Those Union troops approaching the Confederate lines got wiped out, okay? So they kind of throttled back and say, we have to approach Charleston from a different angle.